Welcome to Real Data, Better AI Conversations, our LinkedIn Live interview series and part of a growing global movement committed to rebuilding trust before scaling intelligence. Through these conversations, we bring together leading voices in healthcare, data, and technology to explore what must happen before AI can be implemented safely and responsibly in healthcare. Our guest today is Professor Shafi Ahmed, an international recognized cancer surgeon, medical educator, futurist, innovator, and entrepreneur. He has pioneered the use of virtual and immersive technologies in surgery and medical education, driven by a mission to make healthcare knowledge and clinical training more accessible worldwide. He is also the author of Intelligent, The Evolution of AI Transforming Healthcare, a timely exploration of how artificial intelligence is reshaping medicine. We're very fortunate to have Professor Shafi Ahmed with us in this program. And now let's go to the show. So greetings, dear viewers and followers. Thank you so much for staying with us in this last week of August. It's great to have you all here with us today. And with me, I have our guest speaker, Professor Shafi Ahmed. Thank you so much, Shafi, for being with us and sharing a little bit of your busy time with our viewers today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It's awesome that you could join us. So I'm burning in curiosity about trying to know what was the turning point in your career, in your life, that made you decide to write Intelligent after years of working at the frontier of surgery and technology.
That's a great question to begin this interview. So I've been a surgeon now for almost 35 years. I'm a cancer specialist. And so I've been working in an environment where innovation is quite important. And we've seen lots of technology come into surgery over the last 25 years. We've gone from big open surgery to laparoscopic surgery and now robotic surgery. A lot of kind of technology that's helped support us along the way. And so I've been interested in technology for the last decade or so. And understanding what technologies will drive change in healthcare to improve outcomes for our patients. I've been teaching and talking about AI for about a decade. And about 7 years ago, I started writing a book on technology in healthcare. And that was just before COVID. And in fact, when I started writing it, it didn't seem the right story in the book. I consider myself a storyteller. And so I was trying to think about how do I tell a story on technology, innovation, and healthcare? And it wasn't really coming to fruition. So I abandoned that book 7 years ago before COVID. And luckily I did, because the book I was writing became obsolete because COVID drove change so quickly. So therefore, it was almost too late, for example. Then I started teaching AI a lot to the business school and my speeches around the world. I realized that there's a huge problem with AI and literacy of AI for the average person, the average citizen, the patient, healthcare workers, doctors, nurses. And there's a low-level understanding where AI could be useful. So having taught AI for a long time, I then decided to say that actually the book that needs to be written is a comprehensive book on AI and healthcare for anybody who's interested in understanding the basics of where we've come from and where we're heading towards in AI. That was the mission statement. It wasn't just about writing a tech book. It was about writing a story of AI, which is the hardest part of the book I was writing. And finally, this year, I finished it. I think it was the right time because it was just accelerated the AI that's coming in. And it was beginning to showcase what AI could deliver in the future. So I'm really pleased it's finally finished and out in the market over the last 4 months. And I'm really pleased that it's had universal praise on the way the book was structured and written. So I'm very happy and proud of the book that I've written.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You've been called as the world's most watched surgeon, even on social media. How has your view of AI's role in medicine evolved since your early work in virtual reality and screen surgery?
Yeah, so that moniker I received about a decade ago as the world's most watched surgeon, and it means whatever it means. Uh, it came about because, and this for the audience to understand where it came from, because I was streaming live operations, cancer operations, to a global audience using Google Glass at the beginning to a global audience, then virtual reality. I did the world's first operation using augmented reality, then with virtual reality, then as a hologram and avatar, and then on social media. And my audience has reached over 50 to 100 million people over the years that I did that. It was just me showcasing that we could use technology to teach globally, scaling education to anybody, anywhere who needed knowledge. And so, therefore, that was the plan I had. And I built some companies around global education. So, that was the kind of the background of why they gave me that moniker, rightly or wrongly, but it kind of stuck. But in terms of surgery and AI, we're seeing over the last 10 years almost a different discipline in my profession. The world of what I call digital surgery. I've come from an analog world where we lived on analog surgery, old fashioned principles of thinking, and old fashioned ways of operating. As I mentioned earlier, we've gone from laparoscopic surgery now to robotic surgery, which is becoming almost not ubiquitous, but at some point probably will in the next 5 to 10 years. There are now, I think, around 120 companies building surgical robots compared to one in 25 years ago. With that comes the data and the technology around that. So digital surgery is a different conversation to have where we're now super connected, we're hyper connected, doing live operations remotely. We're offering data and analytics to understand the intraoperative work and supporting a surgeon through a navigation tool during the operation, before and also after. We're using extended reality, AR, VR technology to train people, for example. And so all of that concept, including robots, is now called digital surgery. And AI is one part and parcel of that. We're seeing AI being introduced to allow surgeons to make better decisions, both before and after the operation. We're seeing the use of mapping anatomy during the operation. We're using AI in the operating room itself with cameras placed around the operating theatre to capture all the data to showcase how efficient we could be if we made different decisions. So it's helping us make decisions as surgeons and hospitals. So surgery now is or has already been at the inflection point. And I write about that in the book, where I call the chapter on surgery the intelligent scalpel, because that's kind of where we are now.
That's awesome. That's so interesting. But so where do you see AI genuinely transforming clinical outcomes today versus where the hype outpaces the reality?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think for the audience, what I like to say to them is that I often talk about the hype, the hope, and the reality. And it's fundamental to say at the beginning that AI so far has overpromised and undelivered. 10 years ago, we were told that there'll be no more radiologists in the world, okay, by Geoffrey Hinton, thinking that AI, with its incredible image and analysis tools, could overcome the shortages of radiologists globally and therefore wouldn't need them in the future. It was fundamentally flawed because healthcare is much more complicated, and the way that humans interact in a healthcare system can't be easily overridden. We call it human in the loop. So, the first thing to say is we haven't really seen the true value. Where it's been easily adopted so far is, I guess, the world of ambient AI, which is using your voice. If, for example, if you talk to a patient, that conversation is then captured with AI and inserted into a document that flows into like a history or into the health record. That's lowest hanging fruit at the moment. We're seeing I think over the last 2 years, over 2 billion invested in AI ambient voice companies globally. And we're seeing dissemination of that in primary care and secondary care. And it's because it's low risk. There's no real risk for the patient because there's human oversight, looking at the notes and checking them before signing them off. The other parts of AI we're seeing, for example, is AI drug discovery. We now have the third drug built using AI technology, looking at the molecular design and then onto clinical trials. And so we're seeing the fast the explosion, if you like, of AI in drug discovery and clinical trials. We are seeing AI in surgery to a certain extent, but again, it's only early in its evolution. I think the next 5 years will be hugely important in deploying. The problem we have, of course, is how to deploy, how to scale. You may have an idea, but how do you incorporate it into a workflow, into a way that people can use it easily without too much friction? And of course, with AI and any other technology, change management, change of behavior in the healthcare system is fundamental to deploying these tools.
That's interesting. But do you actually see how AI could be incorporated in the surgery practice workflow in a ward in an hospital? How do you see that happening? And what will be the role of the surgeon in that instance?
I'd like to think we can see it being deployed over the next 5 years. The question is, can you do the end-to-end journey, the end-to-end piece? Recently, I saw a company building AI surgical navigation tools. So this is mapping. So when you're on, say, a robot or you're on laparoscopic surgery with a screen in front of you showcasing the surgery, they're overlaying that information by training the system with thousands of videos before that to allow you to showcase the important structures or the important tissues and the planes you're dissecting. And I've been talking about this for about 10 years. Finally, this year, we're seeing it now being deployed. Small scale, pilots, early studies, but in Japan, for example, it's been deployed almost nationally already. So we're seeing pockets of innovation in that sense. The robots that are coming out now, and there are many robots coming out recently, there's been a huge explosion, if you like.
Yeah, I could imagine.
And they're built on data analytics and AI navigation tools. So we are seeing that now happen. Another company that I work with closely are placing cameras in the OR. These are high definition cameras that capture all the images and the movements taking place, allow you to understand the efficiency of the processes, tell you what's going to happen next, for example, predicting the planned operation and helping the team make better use of their time and have less risk. And that would be important for patient safety. So we are seeing it now. We didn't see it 10 years ago, but this year we're seeing much more deployment at early stage, and some parts of the world are scaling much faster than others.
It's interesting. So just ask you about the deployment of such a solutions for health systems still early in digital transformation. What is the first practical step you'd recommend?
The first question that anybody asks the CEO or the investigator or the senior management is, what's the problem I'm trying to solve? Okay, you've got to start on that point. What are our friction points that need to be solved? What are the barriers? Then you find a solution that fits. You don't take a solution on the market already and try to fit into a system that's so cumbersome that it doesn't work. So you find out, here's a problem we're facing. How do we find a solution to fix this problem? Number one. Secondly, okay, once we've got it, how do we deploy it safely at the beginning? Do we have all the regulatory approvals in place, the legal approval, the regulation, ethics, the design, the leadership around it to ensure that it's effectively deployed? And that's fine. And that can be a pilot or small deployment. Third is, how do we scale it? How do we change our clinicians' behavior, nurses, doctors, whoever it is that want to deploy it? How do we ensure the infrastructure is strong enough, built strong enough, and safe enough to deploy this? And then how do we scale it and change people's behavior? And that's called change management. There are 3 or 4 things I would do to have a long-term approach, just by seeing something that's really exciting and putting in very quickly isn't the answer, because more likely it will fail because you haven't thought about the process and where the frictions might be to scaling and deployment. And that's been a big fallacy of a lot of tech and innovation in any hospital around the world.
That's interesting. I mean, you have lots of wisdom, Xavi. I can understand that your book should be really useful for people that would like to read it. I will place the references in the comments and in the show, because obviously I'm learning a lot from this conversation. Let's now pivot into another contribution of AI, namely in training and education. How do you see AI reshaping medical education and training over the next years?
So there was a saying we used to say for 10 years, that a doctor who doesn't use AI will be replaced with a doctor who does use AI, basically. And we've been saying that for a long time, right? Hasn't quite happened, but it's one of these things that's stuck in the kind of the conversation on AI. I think it's more true of education now. Education fundamentally will be transformed by AI, especially medical education. And, in terms of setting questions, assessment tools, constant appraisal of performance, understanding people's knowledge-based thinking, designing curriculum around AI. About a year ago, there was the first course in the world that was just purely run by AI. There was no teachers. AI was teaching the students and giving the grades at the end. Okay, that's the extreme, I would say. But what we have to understand is AI is with us now. Whether it's LLMs like ChatGPT, Claude, our students are using it all the time. Okay, we're all using it 100%. So therefore, it's the kind of the landscape where we are. Therefore, we use it, we encourage it, and and then we promote good use of AI to our students. We shouldn't stop them. We should appropriately. What we need to do is think about how to examine people. If people are allowed to use these tools, then how does the exam assessment have to change? I remember reading a paper again earlier, I think it was last year, saying that a university, I think Australia, has said, fine, you can use AI tools for education and allow the students to use it. We will then go back to oral examinations face to face. We can interrogate what they know rather than set them homework. So we're still now going back to a thinking and a knowledge-based acquisition. We're now asking, exploring people different questions, for example. So we have to redesign the assessment tools. We're just building an AI platform at the moment. So I'm pleased to announce that here.
Good.
Building an AI education platform, which I think is really interesting. So I've been building this for the last few months. It'll be launched in August, and by the time this podcast will come out, it will be out in the system. So we've been trying to understand how to use AI, whether it's LMs, agentic AI, to help support healthcare professionals to navigate through the learning program. So AI will be fundamentally designed as part of any curriculum in the future. The problem you have with that, again, is the old-fashionedness, the traditional methods of learning, which don't want to change. We're fighting innovation and technology and the future, the system that's robust, like medicine, is traditional. It's almost archaic in the way it teaches our modern medical students or our healthcare system. And there's tension there, which we need to understand better. But I fear and I feel in the future, if you don't use AI in your education, your system or your platform will be obsolete. It won't be fit for purpose. How you use it, that's the question. And that's why I talk about it in the book, actually.
That's awesome. I mean, more and more curious about your book, and this is precisely the kind of conversation we will like to take forward at our Health Data Forum Global Hybrid Summit taking place in Bilbao next month, 24th, 25th September, where health leaders will explore our frameworks such as the European Health Data Space. We would like to rephrase that in plural, European health data spaces, because there are several, can move from policy ambition to trusted implementation. But with this in mind, what role do you see for global health data collaboration in making AI in healthcare safer and more equitable in these spaces?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And again, data is the key here, all right? Collecting good quality data that can be tagged and therefore used AI makes absolute sense. Data at the moment is collected in different ways. Some countries do well with data collection acquisition, and some countries like Sweden, for example, have had database for many, many years. Others not so well. And there lies a problem. If you have heterogeneous data quality and collection, it affects the algorithms, it affects the outcome.
Absolutely.
And we have to be very careful we don't bias the data. Because look, if you go back to, say, looking at skin lesions using AI platforms, there was a huge problem here. The first platforms that came out to analyze taking a picture on your smartphone of a lesion on the skin and giving a diagnosis couldn't really be used in black people or people with darker skin because the algorithm had been trained on white Caucasian skin, inherently biased. So as we collect data, we have to be careful about the cybersecurity, of course, making sure it's secure, also the inherent biases. And if we use it on one train set, will it be applicable to another population, for example, that might have different demographics? So we have to be mindful of the data, the population, the demographics. But what we do need is a unified method of having unified data so that we can use it for these platforms. And remember, even the ownership of that data is important. The EU and globally, we have to make decisions around ownership, copyright, and how we use that data for the broader good. And how is that compensated? What's the value of that data? And these are questions, the hard questions, but I don't think have been answered yet. We've been reluctant for 20 years to confront the issue of data, what it means to the individual, what it means to a sovereign country, how to protect it, but at the same time use it to improve health outcomes. And that's the kind of tug of war that we've been fighting for a long time. But at some point, we'll have to confront it and accept some of the risks that come with having good quality data and sharing it, and then move forward so that we can create the solutions that benefit a lot more people.
Absolutely. I mean, this is an amazing conversation. But before we go, let me throw here the last question for you.
Sure.
As we have been learning so much, what is one myth about AI in medicine you'd like to put to rest?
So I'd like to say that AI is not going to replace doctors anytime soon. If you asked me 10 years ago, I was an evangelist. I was thinking this can be amazing, it's going to change the world, doctors will be out of a job, and I was of that feeling. More and more over the last 10 years, as I've seen more about AI, more deployments, I've talked about a lot of that globally. Health in particular is much more methodical in how it approaches AI and implements it. Although it's the right vertical, it's being more mature at having to have some control or contain the AI to a certain extent. And so I feel that we are going through a process of putting regulatory approvals around this. The EU AI Act, for example, the UK have got their own system, MHRA using regulatory approvals to be confident to allow safe deployment of AI. I think that's where we are. So I don't think doctors, surgeons will replace anytime soon. There'll be human in the loop for a long time yet to come until we become more autonomous, allow these AI to be more autonomous, but in a safe manner with a structure around it. People worry about AGI, artificial general intelligence, and super intelligence, and how AI will destroy the whole planet. I don't think it will. I think over the course of our human existence, there's always been risks to our humanity, whether it's nuclear weapons, whether you go back to the advent of fire, electricity, or indeed the motor car. We have these inflection points, which I call transitions, if you like, and I call in the book punctuations. These punctuations have always threatened our existence. But actually, humanity, I think we have to give credit to. We manage the conversation, we contain, we move on. There are always going to be risks, but that's a conversation for all of us to have. I think the book talks about human agency, how we as humans control the output. We have the ability to understand, deploy, control in a way that's measured, because the ultimate ambition is to improve patient care. And if that's our sole reason for AI, and we have put patients at the center of our conversations and our solutions, then I don't think we'll go too far wrong. So that's the bit I need to allay fears to for the public and for the healthcare professional as a whole.
That's awesome, Shafi. Thank you so much. And just before we go, because we have still a few minutes left on our LinkedIn Live here, let me bring up and try to unveil what would be the latest entrepreneurial offer that you are going to give us. Can we have a hint of what's coming?
Yeah, so as I said, I'm building an education platform using AI. I've been thinking about how to use AI for about 10 years in education. I mentioned some things I was doing earlier 10 years ago, but now we have the ability to scale education so fast, so rapidly. My ambition has always been to make education more democratic, to make education available to anybody, anywhere in the world. That's always been my mission, my passion, and my journey for the last 10, 15 years. In fact, 35 years in clinical practice. I think with AI, what we're launching this month, will be just that. It's what I've always wanted to build. I think the team have done an amazing job to build a huge interactive AI design platform for the future of healthcare. I can't share more on that because it's been launched soon, and you'll see it on my socials fairly soon about what we're creating. But I think I'm so excited by what we're trying to create.
Okay, thank you so much, and apologize for this last minute, but I would like to take advantage of your presence here. So, dear viewers, we have been interviewing Professor Shafi Ahmed, and if you've joined the show right now, make sure you go back, as everything is here on LinkedIn for you, and also on our YouTube channels and our social media meta channels in Health Data Forum. Just follow us there. Thank you so much, Shafi, for your time here. It was really a great conversation. Thank you so much, dear viewers, for staying with us. Looking forward to see you all on upcoming episodes of Real Data, Better AI. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Health Data Forum Global Hybrid Summit 26 Bilbao 24-25 September. Europe is entering a new era of health data. Artificial intelligence is accelerating. Genomics is scaling. Medical imaging is exploding in volume. The European health data space is becoming reality. But one critical question remains: how do we make all this work in the real world? Welcome to Bilbao 2026, a curated international dialogue bringing together health system leaders, researchers, policymakers, technology innovators, genomics experts, infrastructure architects, patient voices, to explore one mission: building trustworthy, scalable, and operational health data ecosystems. From Wales to Bilbao, from principles to implementation, from AI hype to real-world readiness. This is not another digital health conference. This is a strategic implementation summit focused on EHDS in practice, trusted secondary use, genomics integration, imaging at scale, cybersecurity and resilience, AI-ready health systems, real-world evidence, and federated data environments, featuring international perspectives from Euskadi and Spain, United Kingdom and NHS Wales, Finland and Nordic countries, UAE and GCC, Canada, Switzerland, European institutions, and global partners. Bilbao and Euskadi are emerging as one of Europe's most important operational territories for trusted health data innovation. A place where policy meets infrastructure, governance meets implementation, and innovation meets public trust. Health Data Forum Global Hybrid Summit 2026, making EHDS real. Trust, data, genomics, medical imaging, Scalable AI Implementation. Bilbao, Basque Country, 24-25 September 2026.